For as long as I can remember, I've already messed up. For as long as I can remember, I've disliked being perceived. I discovered at a young age that I can be different. A different person, a different character, a different animal, and people would treat me different. I'm sure for the most part it was just adults pretending I was actually the character I was pretending to be. But that didn't stop me from believing I was fooling them. A running gag in my family is bringing up an embarrassing thing that I used to do when I was a kid. I would hide under the table, pick a random animal, then come out from under the table and pretend to be that animal and make them guess what I was. I can't imagine it was as terrible as they say it was. I'm told that I always just looked and sounded like the same animal, no matter what animal I chose. How can a duck quacking and a cow mooing sound the same? I think I was great. But the fact that they even humored me was enough for me. I remember loving to be in the spotlight when I was little. I loved being the center of attention, at least among friends and family. When it came to strangers, though, that was a different story. Even at school, when I knew all of my classmates, I was still so shy. I always hated the word shy. When asked to describe me, people always used that word. Like, every time. I might have agreed and used that word to describe myself, but it felt like I should have been the only one allowed to do that. Like when you can bully your best friend, but when someone else bullies your best friend, you take that person and tie them up and put them in your trunk and take them to a far-off forest where no one ever sees them again. I mean, you tell them to go away. So as I aged, I never really grew out of that. I might have social anxiety. I'm fine with small talk though, which is interesting, but public speaking in front of people scares the poop out of me. As I was writing the script, I realized that I only really have anxiety when I'm talking to people face to face about myself or my opinions. Maybe I don't have social anxiety and I'm just scared of being disliked or having to defend myself. I mentioned in another video how talking about my opinions usually causes some kind of fight or flight response, and I'll likely end up crying. All this to say, I usually don't enjoy being perceived. Obviously. And it seems like a lot of people have this feeling. I did some digging and asked for opinions in some furry communities. Since the first time I put on a fursuit and felt the freedom of being seen without actually being seen, I realized that that might be one of the bigger reasons that people enjoy wearing fursuits in the first place. And it seems I might have been right. The majority of the responses I got myself and found online felt the same as me. Fursuiting is perfect when you're shy or socially anxious. And for at least one furry, it's perfect when you have autism and you want to forget you have autism for a moment by adopting a new persona. Fursona? How did I just put that together? Wow. I have the IQ of a hot dog. One furry even said that it's helpful to wear a fursuit because no one can see your actual emotions. So if you're sad or mad, you can use the suit and the character to let out those emotions in a more constructive way. So as time went on, I think my weird social anxiety might have gotten a little worse. I haven't talked to my therapist about my opinion shyness. Maybe I should. That just means I haven't really dealt with it yet. Maybe YouTube can be my therapist. At least I'm not sitting on the floor of my kitchen eating an entire menu of KFC and crying while I talk about it. I have such a strong desire to be seen, which is interesting because I don't want to be perceived. I'm not funny. I don't think I'm charismatic or super interesting, but I still want to be the center of attention. Maybe that's kind of normal. I'm sure lots of people want attention. It feels nice. And I'm sure I used negative behavior in the past to try to get attention, but it's been a long time since I was a piece of human garbage.
You piece of human garbage.
But I'm scared. The fear of being seen is greater than the desire to be seen, I think. Over the last few videos that I've made, I've been becoming a little more comfortable talking about me, my opinions, and my inner thoughts. And maybe that's the first step, because I got my first real hate comment last week. And honestly, it just made me laugh. I'm sure we'll see what happens in the future, though. As I make more videos, I might become one of those people who just doesn't read the comments. So if hiding behind a mask and a fluffy suit is the roleplay people need to be able to interact with the public, where does that leave their actual identity?
My whole identity!
If I'm wearing a fursuit and I'm able to be overly friendly, huggable, and outgoing, is that the real me? Because that's how I act when I'm alone. standing in the mirror. I'm not shy and anxious when I'm sitting on the couch eating ice cream, watching Game Grumps. There was only one reply from a furry who said they were a little less comfortable in a fursuit, just because it's hard to see. The little eye holes
Oh, hold on, I'm fucking with my hole.
make it hard to see what's around you. Most of the time, it's good to have a handler to help you not bump into things when you're in a fursuit. They also said they're just as happy to be outgoing and do things like sing karaoke when they're outside of their suit as much as they are when they're inside their suit, which I don't really think is the norm. But where is the line between roleplay and identity? And where does it blur? Some furries just like the floof and being a big animal, but sometimes the mask creates a barrier between anxiety and strangers. But what about just regular cosplay? If I'm dressed as a giant red panda, that's one thing. But if I'm dressed as, say, Sailor Moon, with my face fully exposed, will the process in my brain be the same? Can I take on the identity of someone not hidden behind a mask? These are the questions. But they will forever go unanswered, by me at least, because I don't cosplay. Unless fursuiting is cosplay, but I don't really fursuit either, because the only fursuit I had got ruined in a basement. They're very expensive. I would love to have a fursuit, though. That would be so great. But anyway, being in the suit is the thing for me. As someone said, it's easier to come out of your shell and experience the convention with like-minded people when you're in the suit. No one can judge you based on your human appearance. Unless you're Patches. Tangent. When I went to Morphicon 2007 in Ohio, there was this guy who kept making his way in somehow. He didn't have a pass, and he was banned multiple times, but he did have a fursuit. If you can classify a body covering made entirely of teddy bears a fursuit. A suit of fur. People began calling him Patches, and his presence was a very hot topic at the con. I'm not sure if... You know what? This has drastically changed the trajectory of this video. I was doing some research, trying to find out if anybody online had ever talked about Patches. Boy, oh boy, howdy, have they. I slowly made the realization that the Patches from my memory was actually the infamous carpet sample. I only saw him from a distance, so I didn't get the pleasure of a sniff. This is deeper than I thought it was. In my day-to-day furry life, I never really came across anything about carpet sample or shadow wolfess or barrel? Or any of the other 400 names that he went by. But his name was William Clark. I can't believe that I have heard about carpet sample, and I didn't put two and two together, that I had actually been at the same convention as him. I guess since I never got an up-close and personal view of him at Morphicon, I didn't realize that it was the same guy. I just knew him as Patches. From what I can gather, Morphicon was maybe one of the first conventions he attended. So maybe carpet sample wasn't what people had started calling him yet. And maybe his suit wasn't old enough to be super stinky yet. I just know that he was thrown out of the con more than a few times, for various reasons. So he would go to thrift stores and buy all of the plushies. Then he would go home to the dumpster that he lived in, and he would have relations with the plushies. Then tear them apart and sew them together into a suit. My memory is probably not great, but I swear there was a part of the suit that he wore to Morphicon that actually had one of the teddy bear heads still attached to it. But online it says that he debuted a new suit at that Morphicon. It was this brown thing. I don't know what it is about his furry suits. Well, I guess I know what it is about his suits, is their mishmash of plushies. But it's his suits, his art, even just the pictures of him in his own house not in a suit. It's like, I can't tell what anything is. It's like some of the first AI pictures where, like, you can see things that you should know what they are, but you can't really tell what they are. They aren't really things. That's what all of his suits and art and stuff seems like. Where are the eyes? Where's the mouth? What are these... I don't know. So with this newfound information, let's take what we've talked about so far and apply it to carpet sample. Fursuiting is great for people with anxiety. I wonder how he feels about that. His fursuit didn't seem to hide him. It seems like it was made to purely show off how gross he was. Some people were saying that he would walk around the con with his fursuit head in his hands and sexually harass people partially in suit. They said that clearly his crayon box was missing a few colors. But does that mean he wouldn't have any shame? Maybe he used to work at a carnival and a loose bolt flew off a ride and hit him in the head.
A loose bolt flew off a Ferris wheel and embedded in his skull, destroying the part of his brain that feels shame.
All of the bullet points I have for why people love fursuiting don't seem to apply or shouldn't apply to Carpet Sample. 1. Kids love fursuits. Carpet Sample should not be around kids because half of the art that he drew was underage, presumably. 2. People in fursuits are huggable, but Carpet Sample's smoot? But Carpet Sample's suit smelled so bad from all of the bodily fluids that he didn't clean off of it. And I mean all of the fluids that a body can produce. No one should have ever gone within 50 yards of him, let alone hug him. 3. It's easier to talk to people from behind a mask when you have social anxiety, but he would follow people around the conventions with the head removed anyway. So, and 4, fursuits let you adopt a new personality, but he was the same in suit as he was out. You get the idea. The good thing here is it seems he hasn't been to a convention in a very long time, and try as I might, I couldn't find an obituary for him. Unfortunately. He would be 70 this year, so hopefully he's just trapped amongst the garbage in his house, and any dogs he might have been molesting have gotten away. This video took a turn, and I'm sorry. If you've never heard of Carpet Sample, maybe don't look any more into him. You'll regret it. My intention for this video was to just talk about how fursuits help with being yourself. And instead I uncovered a weird thing from my past. I'm going to be thinking about this for a while. I hope you're having a good day, or at least you were having a good day. And I'm sorry if it's my fault you're not having a good day anymore. I'm going on vacation, so this video is a little less in-depth. I guess I wanted it to be more in-depth, but now I'm just, like, confused, and I feel like my past self was violated somehow. That's it. Have a good week. Bye. A video about being perceived when I don't like being perceived, but I'm being perceived in the video. Inception.